everyone, welcome to LUKMAAN IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 18th January 2021. So let us see which are the important articles straight away. So these are the important articles for mains purpose and for prelims purpose. Let us see one by one. First article on page number 6, editorial page. So the context of the article here, recently the WhatsApp privacy policy that has been recently updated, and somehow many people found it the infringement on the right to privacy of individuals, and therefore they have shifted to the alternative platforms, alternative to WhatsApp, for example Signal or Telegram, such social networking platforms or apps. And because of that, once again the right to privacy or data protection, this has been in news. So the foundation students, LUKMAAN IAS foundation students, recently we were learning about the internal security module, and in that we talked about the cyber security, and one of the aspect here is of data privacy and data protection and right to privacy regarding cyber security. So that's why this aspect we had reference about that. So what the article is analyzing here is we need to have a comprehensive legal framework for such kind of events not to occur, and protecting right to privacy of the individuals. As we know that Supreme Court in Puttaswamy judgment has said that right to privacy is integral part of right to life and liberty under Article 21. Okay, so this is the basic information. What article is analyzing, we will look into this. WhatsApp privacy update. So the syllabus part, GS2 UPSC mains examination, right to privacy as fundamental right. Okay, so ये कहाँ से शुरू हुआ है? Problems of Facebook owned app WhatsApp started earlier this month when it announced an update to its terms of service and privacy policy, according to which users would no longer be able to opt out of sharing data with Facebook. Now this is something related to intra-app data sharing. And here the new update says that the person who is using WhatsApp, he will not be having option to opt out, or we can say have such choice of not sharing data with Facebook. ठीक है, if he has a Facebook profile. ठीक है, तो ये जो Facebook के साथ में जो लिंक करने की बात हो रही है डेटा के साथ, as we know that Facebook is the parent company of WhatsApp, and therefore somehow the company has its own policies of profit motivation, commercialization. However, we need to know that the update policy here is brought with the positive intent in a sense. Those business accounts of WhatsApp platform, for them it is a good opportunity that they can share or have such kind of advertisement on the Facebook easily. Okay, but somehow some people, especially the normal accounts, those who are having normal accounts, they felt that it will be infringement on their privacy. So that's why even after that the WhatsApp has recently communicated with all its users that there will not be infringement of any kind of privacy, and the data will not be shared without permission. ये सब चीज़ें उन्होंने कही है, जैसे कि कल ही हमने देखा, कल परसों में there was a WhatsApp update, the status that was shared by the WhatsApp. तो ये सब चीज़ें हो रही है. Still we can understand that there are some concerns regarding that. WhatsApp policy update has clearly spooked many users who, concerned about their privacy getting compromised, have shifted to alternative platforms such as Signal and Telegram. तो ये सिग्नल जो है ये भी WhatsApp की तरह एंड टू एंड इंक्रिप्शन यूज करता है फॉर डेटा प्रोटेक्शन. ओके, सो एन अंडर फायर WhatsApp ऑन इट्स पार्ट हैज ट्राइड टू अले द फियर्स अबाउट प्राइवेसी बीइंग कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड बिकॉज ऑफ अपडेट्स. ठीक है, तो उन्होंने कम्युनिकेट करने की कोशिश की है. आफ्टर ऑल दिस WhatsApp हैज पुश्ड द अपडेट टू May 15. ठीक है, तो ये होने वाला था फरवरी में, February 8 लास्ट डेट दी थी उन्होंने, तो अभी ये पोस्टपोन किया हुआ है. नेक्स्ट अपडेट उन्होंने 15 May 2021 को. However, the change will ultimately be inevitable given that WhatsApp bought by the Facebook for whopping $19 billion and having subsequently given up plans to charge its users would be betting on its handling of business interactions to make its big monies. So the profit will surely come from the business accounts of WhatsApp. Okay. Even then, it cannot force these changes on its users in Europe. Okay, because Europe has a very stringent general data protection regulation, GDPR. Now this term we need to know about this, that Europe has very stringent provisions of data protection, and the all the European Union let's say countries, we can say that it is popularly the regulation is popularly known as GDPR. It prevents such data sharing between the apps. So India could do with such law. At present only there is a draft version of data protection law, or we can say that bill, draft data protection bill is there, but it is not yet enacted by the government. In conclusion, privacy of the billion citizen is too important a thing to be left just to practices of commercial enterprises. It will be reassuring if it is guaranteed by a strong law. Very good conclusion we can do, let's say, write in such kind of answers if it is related to data privacy. Fine. Okay, so GS2 पेपर राइट टू प्राइवेसी के लिए आप ये यूज कर सकते हो, कंटेम्प्ररी और करंट इशू. नेक्स्ट, injecting confidence, page number 6, editorial page. Again the article is discussing about the vaccine hesitancy. Okay, so GS2 में गवर्नेंस पार्ट है, कोविड-19 से रिलेटेड कोई भी इसमें क्वेश्चन आता है, ऐसे भी आता है, तो वैक्सीन हेजिटेंसी के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए. So unless and until people do not have, let's say, trust on the vaccine or its efficacy, we cannot have the mass vaccination. और ये हम कोविड-19 में अभी देख रहे हैं कि there is somehow hesitancy among the common people to take this vaccine now. Okay, and the government on its part is doing, let's say, it is having efforts. जैसे हम देखते हैं ना कि अभी जब कॉल करते हैं तो अभी जो बात करते हैं तो वो जो रिंगटोन आता है, ठीक है, बात करते हो तो वहाँ पे वो क्या बोलते हैं कि जो इंडियन वैक्सीन है वो सेफ है और सब लोगों ने वैक्सीन लेनी चाहिए, ऐसा उन्होंने एक मैसेज दिया हुआ है उसमें, राइट. तो इस तरीके से कम्युनिकेशन, इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन कैंपेन इज let's say started by the government to reduce such vaccine hesitancy. So the article is discussing about why there is vaccine hesitancy and how it can be removed. So some important points, like it is only a year since the first reports of the novel coronavirus pandemic approaching India surfaced, and that just 12 subsequent months of uncertainty, tragedy and upheaval have resulted in promising vaccines with potential to save many lives and spark hope and optimism in millions. Now this is the commendable achievement, we can say that. Establishing the efficacy based on the final analysis of phase 3 trials and full licensure may take months. Till then, it is rational and scientific on the part of anyone to choose or decline the vaccine on the basis of whether the potential risk outweigh the benefits. So surely up till until and unless we do not have the final phase 3 data, तब तक हमें ध्यान से ये cautiously approach करना है. Given India's experience with the childhood immunization, जो universal immunization program UIP जो है, and administering millions of doses in extremely diverse geographical conditions, there is reassurance, confidence that the country has executive ability to scale up the vaccination. Now we can understand that somehow we have that the advantage, the infrastructure that is already in place for this immunization program because of this UIP, universal immunization program, childhood immunization that we undertake for various kind of diseases. The approval of the vaccines earlier this month has seen divisions among the scientists and doctors themselves on the sagacity of the government promoting both Covishield and Covaxin as being equivalent to one another, but they are not. Covaxin is being administered as a part of clinical trial and its efficacy is not established yet. Okay. So Covishield के जो है वो trials हो चुके हैं, but Covaxin is still in, let's say, clinical trials or phase 3 trials have started. At the same time, ultimately we have to understand that the government needs to work doubly hard to ensure that honest appraisal of the vaccine's prowess is rapidly disseminated. ठीक है, तो ये रूमर्स और जो पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड जो वर्ड्स होते हैं पब्लिक डिस्कोर्स में, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट द कॉमन पीपल आर लेट्स से मिस इन्फॉर्म्ड एंड इट इज गवर्नमेंट्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू एंश्योर दैट द करेक्ट ट्रूथ or right information is given to the people. Those lining up for the shots are the adults and a significant fraction of them are far more medically literate than the average Indian, and all arms of the government must treat them so. It is their experience that will percolate and influence adoption of vaccine among the largest population. So when the scientists or the doctors or health workers, when it is reassuring for them that the vaccine is efficient, and when they take this vaccine, ultimately they will act as a change makers in the society, they will act as a role models in the society, and common people will look up to them to take these vaccines. ठीक है, तो ये हमें पता होना चाहिए कि इस तरीके से हम वैक्सीन हेजिटेंसी को डील कर सकते हैं. फाइन, मूविंग ऑन. Bridging the gulf between dream and reality, page number 7. Now this article is related to our ethics paper. Okay, so for ethics paper we know that the part of syllabus lessons learned from the lives and teachings of, let's say, great leaders, reformers and administrators. This is the part of syllabus, and there can be a direct question on the by giving the name of that particular leader or administrator, or there can be indirect question in a sense like there can be quote of that person or leader. ठीक है, तो ये आपको पता होना चाहिए कि किस तरीके से क्वेश्चन आ सकता है सिलेबस के कौन से पार्ट से. एंड वी नो दैट 15th January is the Martin Luther King Jr.'s let's say birthday, and there the holiday is celebrated in America, and his contribution is very important in the, let's say, one of the greatest leaders of 20th century we call him, and the reformer also. तो हमें इसलिए उनका contribution समझना चाहिए GS4 पेपर के लिए, ethics के लिए. So very good article, we can take input accordingly. So what the article is talking about? Yes, reflecting on legacy that Dr. King left in setting US on the path to be more inclusive society, and polity assumes significance in the context of persisting racism leading to death of innocent African American coupled with the rise of Black Lives Matter movement. Now we have to understand why it is in news. So the 2020 has seen this Black Lives Matter movement in America or USA. So because of that, we can say that the contribution of Martin Luther King Jr. in, let's say, especially the civil rights movement that he led during 1960s, तो वो हमें पता होना चाहिए background. There can be question on this. Okay, so he had given very famous speech in 1963. तो speech का नाम हम बोलते हैं I Have a Dream. So everyone who is aspiring for, let's say, for civil services should listen to that video. His speech very inspiring, and we can take input from that speech also for ethics paper, essay paper. The King's contribution to the civil rights movement was remarkable. He changed very architecture of the movement, civil rights movement. Okay, so movement adopted ideas from India's forays into civil disobedience. So we can understand that he used the Gandhian method of non-violence. He was very much influenced by the Mahatma Gandhi. He was the follower of Mahatma Gandhi, we will say that, and the Gandhian philosophy, and therefore he adopted the non-violent disobedience, civil disobedience method. 381-day Montgomery bus boycott demonstrate such civil disobedience and its strength. Right through the moment, Dr. King strived to be the conscience and unifier of the nation that was deeply divided on racial lines. He bridged the gulf between dream and reality. Dr. King's major contribution to US in general and African Americans in particular is in invigorating the benchmarks of equality, justice and dignity. So you can use this let's say words here, his contribution in terms of ensuring equality, justice and dignity to African Americans in USA. So it resulted, or the, let's say civil rights movement resulted in number of path breaking laws such as Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Voting Rights Act of 1965. ठीक है, तो to ensure the equality and dignity to African Americans in United States. So in the similar manner we can say that in India also, where there is continuous atrocities on the Dalits, tribals and minority communities due to hierarchical social structure, as well as the marginalized communities across the world, draw inspiration from Dr. King and strive for more inclusive, just and equal society. So in this manner you can conclude that the countries like India and whole world should take, let's say, inspiration from his philosophy, his struggle, at the same time his teachings. ठीक है, तो काफ़ी famous quotes उन्होंने बताए हैं. For example, injustice, what you can say, that quote here, the injustice at one place is threat to justice everywhere. ठीक है, तो ये जो कोट था काफ़ी फेमस है एंड देयर कैन बी क्वेश्चन ऑन दिस डायरेक्टली दैट कैन बी आस्क्ड इन एथिक्स पेपर. So such kind of direct question discuss the significance of lessons from the life and teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for just and equal society in India. So if we talk about the Indian society, especially divided socially on the caste lines or religious lines, racial lines, ठीक है, और लेट्स से रीजनल लाइंस, तो उसके लिए हम देख सकते हैं कि जस्ट एंड इक्वल सोसाइटी एंश्योरिंग डिग्निटी ऑफ ऑल, तो उसके लिए क्या उनका जो हम लेसन्स ले सकते हैं. फाइन, फॉर लेट्स से जनरल अवेयरनेस वी कैन से दैट द मार्टिन लूथर किंग जूनियर डे इज सेलिब्रेटेड एज थर्ड मंडे ऑफ जनवरी ईच ईयर एज हॉलीडे इन यूएसए. ठीक है. Next, UK invites Prime Minister Modi to G7 summit in June 2021. So G7 summit के हम guest countries में among the three countries, India is also invited. So other two countries, Australia and South Korea. ठीक है, तो 3 चीफ गेस्ट होंगे G7 summit के. India, Australia and South Korea have been invited. Okay, so about G7 groupings, you need to know some background here. Group of 7 कौन से countries है? It is the intergovernmental organization consisting 7 countries of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK and USA. So here there is no China, you need to know about this. And also earlier there was Russia for some brief amount of time. It was also called as G8. ठीक है, या फिर इसको P8 पहले बोला जाता था, G7+1 ऐसे भी बोला जाता था. ठीक है, बट रशिया वॉज एक्सपेल्ड एज द मेंबर इन 2014 फॉलोइंग द latter's annexation ऑफ क्रीमिया रीजन ऑफ यूक्रेन. ठीक है, तो क्रीमियन एनेक्सेशन का जो इंसिडेंट हुआ था 2014 में, a part of Ukraine was annexed by Russia in 2014 and therefore G8 again let's say now called as G7. ठीक है, तो expulsion of Russia from that. So why this grouping was formed? It was formed in 1975 and the important event that happened at that time in 1973, Gulf oil crisis. ठीक है, and after that we can see how OPEC countries had increased the prices of oil क्रूड ऑयल, तो उसकी वजह से उन्होंने सोचा कि एक ग्रुपिंग, इनफॉर्मल ग्रुपिंग जिसको बोलते हैं गवर्नमेंट के हेड्स का बनाया जाए, जिसमें द प्रेसिंग इश्यूज इन द वर्ल्ड कैन बी डिस्कस्ड इन दैट summit. So every year since 1975 there is summit of this G7 grouping. Okay, तो ये basic information आपको पता होनी चाहिए. And one more information is that in response to mounting concern over money laundering, the Financial Action Task Force on Money Laundering (FATF) was established by G7 summit that was held in Paris in 1989. So FATF is established in the summit by the G7 summit in 1989. ये आपको पता होना चाहिए मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के लिए. Fine. So this is the basic information for prelims examination. So there can be question on G7 grouping. Next, one survey was conducted for COVID-19 here, and the results we can talk about that. 10% of CSIR staff exposed to virus, says surveys. First such pan-India survey tracking nearly 10,000 employees of CSIR, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, on prevalence of COVID-19 found that nearly 10% of staff were infected. Now, what are the let's say salient points of this survey or highlights of this survey is that as many as 1058 persons or 10% had antibodies against virus. 3/4 of those surveyed did not experience even one of the 9 associated symptoms. 3/4, you can understand, 75% of the people having these antibodies did not have any kind of symptom. ठीक है, तो asymptomatic patients. Most commonly observed symptom was fever, while 1/4 reported loss of taste or smell. Public transport users, persons engaged as security or housekeeping staff, non-smokers, meat consumers recorded higher seroprevalence compared to others. Now this is something new. ठीक है, तो earlier जब हम देखते हैं कि Ministry of Health in the earlier days of lockdown said that the smokers are more vulnerable to we can say this COVID-19 let's say virus infection, but now this survey has said that the seroprevalence was highest for blood group of type of AB, followed by groups B, O and the lowest among group A. ठीक है, तो ये जो है एंटीबॉडीज सबसे ज़्यादा किस में मिली है? सीरो प्रिवेलेंस वॉज हाईएस्ट फॉर ब्लड ग्रुप टाइप ए बी में ज़्यादा है और ओ में बहुत ही कम है. ठीक है, सो दिस इज समथिंग वेरी स्पेसिफिक हाईलाइट्स दैट वी गॉट फ्रॉम दिस सर्वे. ऑल इंडिया सर्वे है इसलिए. सेकेंड थिंग वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट दोज हु आर स्मोकर्स and those who are let's say having their own vehicle of transport, they are less prone to let's say infection. जो public transport use करते हैं या फिर जो smokers है, so non smokers है, meat consumers जो है, ठीक है, तो वो जो है उनको ज़्यादा infection हुआ है, while those who are vegetarians उनको infection कम हुआ है. ठीक है, ऐसे highlights हम ये सर्वे को कोट कर सकते हैं जब हम कोविड-19 की बात कर रहे हैं. Fine. And lastly, on page number 7, data point. Now this data is relevant for any essay or question in GS3 regarding global warming or climate change. The in recent times how the temperatures have increased. ठीक है, तो year 2020 was 1.02 degrees Celsius warmer than the average, the joint highest with 2016. ठीक है, तो ग्राफ जो यहाँ पे बताया गया है तो आपको दिखाई देगा Earth's average temperature has risen by more than 1.2 degrees Celsius since the late 19th century. So in this manner you can see how the temperature has increased. At the same time we have to understand that yes, impact on Arctic. The map depicts how much warmer or cooler each region of the earth was in 2020 compared to the average from 1951 to 1980, the Arctic region and the parts of northern Russia and Europe recorded higher levels of warming last year. So you can see here how it is more warmer as compared to others when we are comparing it with the average of 1951 to 1980. Fine. So some of the facts can be mentioned. The source is NASA. ठीक है, तो ये source जो है वो NASA का है and the data is analyzed by the Hindu data team. Fine. Okay. So these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. For further information on editorial discussion classes or ED classes, wherein in-depth analysis of mains related issues and articles is done by Ansari Sir and team, you can contact LUKMAAN IAS. The new batch is going to start soon, so you can join that batch. Thank you.